That's right. Gifted is, he's more gifted. I don't have a very good...
Michael might take it as an insult.
Well, Michael would.
But it's not meant to be an insult.
Right.
So the Suns will likely have Chris Paul back for Game 3. He's listed as probable for tonight's game and intends to play.
Boy, that's been a fuzzy situation. We kind of...
Yeah, I was thinking about that driving yesterday. I feel like me and you do a lot of thinking while we're driving. I'm like, what is going on with that? Like, how is he probable? Like,
can we get a definitive word?
What's happening? I don't know. Maybe, you know what? It's a lot of people have been arguing how much, even though we have a lot of medical information that would otherwise be private if you weren't an athlete that's out there on athletes. Like, I saw a lot of people like, well, it's because, HIPAA violations. Like,
no, it's not going to be a HIPAA.
Okay, they have injury reports, all right? Just chill out.
Don't know a HIPAA violation.
What you're talking about, but it is a little strange. Maybe he didn't want, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's strange, but he's probable for tonight. However, the Clippers will still be without Kawhi, who has been ruled out once again with a knee sprain. Although Cameron Payne's been incredible, 29 points.
Insane.
9 assists.
The weirdest game. His game is weird. It's George Gervin-y. It's weird.
He plays with such a fun intensity. He was brilliant to watch. I know everyone was like a little overreacting, like, I don't need Chris Paul. Like, just calm down. Like, Chris Paul's going to be back. It's going to be fine. Yeah. And Cameron Payne was playing a lot when Chris Paul was available. So the Suns are favored by 1.5 for Game 3 tonight, according to Fox Bet.
Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0 backing up Drew Brees. You can have backups that come in and for brief times, you don't really know how to defend them. You haven't seen a lot. There's not a ton of tape. They play with an elevated level of urgency.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, Teddy Bridgewater just beat us. Wait, he's not Drew Brees, but Cameron Payne is an NBA player with the ability to score.
Yeah.
Long.
Exactly. So the Celtics are reportedly finalizing a deal to make Nets assistant Ime Udoka their next head coach. He started his coaching career in San Antonio working under Popovich for 7 years, and then he moved to Philly in 2019 and spent a season in Brooklyn. He reportedly very quickly separated himself in Boston's hiring process. He also received recommendations from Celtic stars like Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown.
That's their 3 guys. You got to get along with those 3.
Well, they all played for him with Team USA at the 2019 FIBA World Cup. So they all have a relationship.
That's why you hire him.
Yeah.
If your 3 guys like him, and Marcus Smart's not a big scorer, but he's one of the sole pieces of the Celtics. If those 3 like him, that's your coach.
He played 7 seasons in the NBA, and it never hurts to be starting your coaching career under Popovich, who has an unbelievable reputation with assistants getting jobs throughout.
Yeah, Andy Reid. Yeah,
a great coaching tree. So I like this hire for the Celtics. Obviously, their stars buying into him is huge as well. And,
huge.
That's why they don't have to go through the rest of the offseason looking for a coach either.
That's why Nash got the job. Kevin Durant and they respected him. He was an MVP.
Well, I mean, look, relationships are very important.
Yes.
And your stars trusting you is very important
Huge
as well.
now in the league, yeah.
So the Pacers have also hired their next head coach. Rick Carlisle was out of a job for 3 days. How long has it been?
Yeah.
Not a long time. He reportedly agreed to return to Indiana next season. He will sign a 4-year, $29 million contract. This will be his second stint as the Pacers head coach.
Yeah.
He was there for 4 seasons in 2003 to 2007 and had a record of 181, 147 in that time. He was with the Mavs for 13 seasons and won a title in 2011. They were 34 and 38 last year.
Herb Simon's one of the legendarily nice guys. He owns the Pacers. He's a very nice man. Herb and Rick, I'm sure, ended on good terms because Herb's a nice guy. People really like him. So when you end on good terms, sometimes you get hired back. That's the way it works.
Well, we have lots of discussions about the coaching carousel in the NBA. And, every once in a while they will insert some new blood, which I think is very needed, especially when you have these young players who, have a different energy and there's a relatability factor and all of that. But I actually think that Rick Carlisle is a great fit. Not just because he has been there before, but I think he's a great fit for the Pacers. I think this is a good hire for them. We know what happens in Dallas. Like, sometimes it wasn't that Rick was necessarily failing there. Sometimes just stints come to an end. Like, things come to an end. people start to have a difference of opinion on how things are run or what needs to happen to improve.
And also, Joy, sometimes you get an older coach who doesn't fit with younger players. You get a younger coach who doesn't fit with older players. So much, Ty Lue, so much is fit.
Yeah.
Do you fit your personnel? And Rick's 61, Luke is a young guy, international. Maybe they don't quite. It's okay.
Also, where you are as a franchise, I think, matters as well. Do you have the stars you need? And you need to start winning now? Are you rebuilding like the Pacers and you need to really emphasize a whole new way of doing things? Like different coaches fit for different times and eras with organizations. So that's another reason why I think it's a good fit for them.
Good stuff, Joy, with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
New York's America's biggest city. That franchise doesn't have one elite scorer. Then they beat the Sixers. Ben Simmons can't shoot, the second best player. And Joel Embiid has a torn meniscus. And now they lead Milwaukee, whose number one player, Giannis, also can't shoot. That's the East. Since LeBron left the Eastern Conference, mercenary Kawhi Leonard won the East, literally packs his bags, goes to Toronto, wins the East, leaves. And the number 5 seed Miami Heat with a bunch of kids win the East. You know, it's funny. Milwaukee didn't even really play that poorly. They did what Milwaukee does. Chris Middleton had a bad shooting night, 0 for 9 on threes. I mean, that happens with Chris Middleton. And Mike Budenholzer didn't make any adjustments. Mike Budenholzer never makes adjustments. Going to double Trae Young? He wouldn't double Kevin Durant. You could say, well, it was a bad night for Milwaukee. They didn't play particularly bad. I mean, Budenholzer did what Budenholzer does, and Middleton has stinkers all the time. I mean, in the West, the Clippers and the Suns were missing MVP-level players, Chris Paul and Kawhi. The game was unbelievable. I mean, you had 9 guys on both teams, 18 total, that contributed. Backup players like Cameron Payne were insane. I mean, you took Giannis and Trae Young out of this game, it's unwatchable. It was barely watchable. There's a reason that game last night will not get a huge TV rating, and there's a reason that Suns and Clippers got a big number. You can't fool America. I've said this before. America will always watch what they find the most dynamic or captivating. The SEC championship every year in college football gets a bigger rating than 95% of the bowl games because everybody knows in America they got more good NFL players. That game's not going to get a rating. I mean, this sums it up. Milwaukee's final 2 3-point attempts were taken by 2 guys that were 0 for 13 on threes. That's who they went to for their final 2 3-point shots. 2 guys that were 0 for 13. And I think Trae Young's great. And nobody would deny that. I think he's the number 1 point guard in the East because I think he's better and more dependable than Kyrie Irving. I do. And I think James Harden I consider a shooting guard more than a point guard. I think Trae Young's the number 1 point guard in the East. But think about this if he was in the West. You'd take Luka over him. I would take Steph over him. I'd take Dame over him. And I'd have to consider Ja Morant and Jamal Murray, and I'd take CP3 over him since CP3 has been in the league forever and wins everywhere. I mean, Dame and Steph are better players than Trae Young. They are. Let's not be prisoners of last night. Steph's a better player by far than Trae Young, and Dame's a better player than Trae Young. Steph can't make the playoffs in the West, and Dame can't get past the first round. It's not hate. Trae Young's terrific. He's a great story. He's fun to watch. Atlanta's fun. I mean, but we understand in sports. This is part of sports that we understand. Some golf tournaments, the courses are harder. They used to have golf tournaments in like Las Vegas Invitational. Guys would be 35 under par. Then you go to the U.S. Open, and guys are like, you watched last weekend, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, everybody except John Rahm went into the tank because the course is too hard.